Cool. So today for Diversibility Amplified, I feel like we're here with Sarah Todd Hammer, who is a disability activist, content creator, author, and speaker. Really, it would be easier to list what you don't do.
Oh,
And, and you've been very vocal and a very strong advocate for disability rights throughout your life. Really, what motivated you to want to speak out on disability and your lived experience?
thank you for such a kind introduction. Well, I'm 23 now, so I have had a disability for most of my life because I became disabled when I was 8 years old. So for 15 plus years, I've lived with a disability. And when I was 10, I met one of my best friends. We're still best friends to this day, who has a similar disability to me. And we decided to write out our disability stories together and self-publish them into a book. And that's really what motivated me to start talking about disability because we just kind of did it for fun. It was like just a little project we did as friends, as children. And it was really therapeutic for me, honestly, writing about my story. And we had such great reception, great feedback. So many parents and other disabled people read the book. And so I just kept going from there, and that's kind of what started it all.
Yes, you would say that your momentum and the positive energy from the community really lend itself to you becoming the activist that you are today.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was not something I really intended to happen. Like, for one thing, didn't intend to actually write a book. That was just kind of this fun thing my friend and I did. And then we ended up doing two more when I was 14 and then 17. So we put them together into a trilogy. Um, so I didn't intend to even do that. But then I also just really learned that I love to write through writing the book and that I like to speak because we did some little book signing events like at my school and at hospital. And so I was like, I should just keep doing more of this. So then that's kind of how I started writing for news publications. Like I did a feature in 17 and J14 when I was a teenager. And then when social media became like a bigger thing as I got older, I was always open about my disability on social media. And I shared my story on there. And just it so happened that it took off like in 2020, during COVID times when everyone was on social media. And so that's how I ended up doing that. So it's almost like one thing just led to the next.
Yeah, it's so weird how many unintentional careers and life stories were launched during lockdown because nobody had anything
Yes.
to do.
Everyone was so bored.
You're like, whoops, I was just posting because we were in quarantine, but now I'm an accidental content creator.
Yes. I know that's literally how it happened. I just decided to make a TikTok account because everyone was using TikTok. And I was a viewer of TikTok content for a while, but then there was this trend everyone was doing where it was like you would hold up both your hands and do like put a finger down if, and then tell some really wild story that happened to you. I can't move one of my hands, so I held up my one hand and told my disability story and put my finger down at the end, and it got like a few million views. And I was getting so many questions, and so like clearly people are interested in this, so it just went from there.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I have a similar story where I've been on TikTok for years and I'm a little older than you. I'm 33,
Mhm.
but I just had a TikTok to be able to watch other TikToks. But
Yeah.
recently, like, my life has been kind of gently falling apart the last few months because my mom, who is my primary caregiver, got diagnosed with ALS. So now
Oh,
we're both
I'm so
disabled.
sorry to hear that.
Yes, thank you, but it really goes to show that disability can apparently impact you at any time, even though I don't know if you're anything like me, but I thought like, well, I'm the disabled person in my family, and then the universe was like,
Yes.
JK, even that's not your identity. So basically, I only posted on TikTok because I was desperate to find a caregiver because my mom can't take care of me anymore, and I couldn't find anyone on like the traditional caregiving websites like care.com. So I posted a TikTok just being goofy, and I was like, please help me stay alive. And I was just like really silly with it.
Using
So,
humor for that.
yeah, because like honestly, what people don't understand, I feel like in the disabled experience is if you're not laughing all the time, you'll just be crying. So I was
Yes.
like, well, crying all the time isn't productive. So I might as well do this. And then I got like a couple thousand followers from that, and then I just never stopped posting, and now I'm almost at 90K, and I'm like, I guess I can
That's a
do it
lot.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have like an audience who's expecting something from you now. That's what happens. It's like they follow you and you have to keep posting.
I I know. So now people are like, when are you gonna keep posting? And I'm like, I guess I'll just
Yeah.
post nonsense. Like it was never really my plan, you know.
That's how it happens. It's honestly the best when it happens that way. It's more fun.
Yeah, but I know today you definitely wanted to speak about how disability is perceived both positively and negatively, and how the outside community, perhaps motivated by ableism, kind of expects people with disabilities to present their lived experiences in a certain way.
hmm Yeah, this is something I've felt a lot, especially as I've gotten older and, you know, become more comfortable in my disability identity. So by default, then I'm more comfortable kind of like sharing the whole story and not just focusing on the good aspects of it. I'm a very positive person. So what's helped me grow comfortable in my disability identity is focusing on the positive things that have come from it and like talking about those and showing that there are positives to this experience. But I feel like I maybe wasn't letting myself like sit with the negative experiences enough, and I would kind of just like brush past them or like not actually think about them deeply. So, I started talking about them more on my TikTok, my YouTube. I did a short film while I was at Davidson College last year as a senior that kind of explored, positives and negatives of my experience. And I realized that when disabled people talk about the challenges that we face or the negative aspects of our experience, a lot of people don't really get it and they don't really like it when that's discussed. Like, there's this either or with representation, like you have to fit like this inspiration narrative where like you're so positive, like you can do anything, you're so great, or it's like you're just the most miserable person ever, and there's never this like nuanced perspective to that representation.
Yeah, I agree. And first of all, thank you for sharing your experiences with how people interact and react to you, because I know a lot of times as a person with a disability with a platform, there can be that pressure to perform or portray your identity in a certain way, but more people need to understand that real life isn't always like that.
Yeah. And there is a pressure to show the good parts of it. And I definitely feel that like I was doing that for a long time just because that's how I am as a person and I wanted to show those things. But as soon as I started showing any of the negative or challenging aspects of my experience on my social media, people accuse disabled people of whining or, not being strong enough, blah blah. And it's gotten to this point where I've come to the realization I feel like disabled people are kind of put in this place where we can't really win with how we portray ourselves and how we talk about our experiences.
Yeah, and even I feel like in my recent experiences, people kind of shoehorned me in the inspiration porn narrative
Mhm.
unnecessarily, because I feel like I'm just read as a cheerful person. But
hmm
even within the past few months, talking about how my experience with disability is changing, and obviously a lot more negative and a lot angrier with my mom's
hmm
diagnosis, the content where I talk about that always sinks like a rock, and it really
Mhm.
reaffirms to me that like I feel like a lot of times people only want to consume disabled people to feel better about their own lives and their own
Oh
problems,
yeah.
and it's like we're not a litmus test for whether your life is shitty. Like
Yeah.
we're actual people.
Yes, and that happens all the time, like using disabled people as this comparison tool, which is why I wanted to focus so much on the positive aspects of my experience to show, like, look, my life is amazing. Like, and I do believe that I have such a great life. I do love my life. I've gotten to live such a great life that I'm very fortunate to have lived so far. But at the same time, there's things that are challenging too, and we should be able to talk about it all.
Yeah, I feel like again it reaffirms both in media representation more broadly, but also in daily life. In the year of our Lord 2025, people with disabilities aren't really viewed holistically because
Mhm.
people view our stories and our narratives as part and parcel. They can kind of cherry pick or turn mine
Mhm.
as they please.
Yes, you said that so well. Like cherry picking it, that is totally what happens. Like, let's show this one aspect of this person's life and act like that's the only thing that that person experiences.
Yeah, and also it's like if you said that you've experienced when you've expressed happiness, people will say like, "How could you be happy while being disabled?" And it's like, "I'm sorry. Did you want
Yeah.
me to just like lay down and never get up?"
That's the thing that I mean where I say we can't win because if I show how happy and positive I'm being, I'll get comments like that, like, oh, like that's wild. I would never want to be disabled. How can you say you're happy being disabled? And then if I talk about the challenges I face with being disabled, they're like, well, just be grateful for what you have. Like, just be happy.
People are always like, "At least you're not dead," and I'm like, "Yeah, but is
Yeah.
that the standard of
I
comparison?"
can't stand those comments. I mean, there are so many things that are worse in life, like in my opinion for me, like that I would much rather not experience. Like to me, like losing a loved one, like losing my mom or something is like a fear of mine that I would much rather not experience compared to like having a disability. Like there's so many things that are worse in life.
Yeah, and especially I really relate to that too because historically the closest figure to me has always been my mom, and we've
Me
always
too.
been inseparable. And it's like now that she's diagnosed with a terminal illness, I'm like, wait, hold on, universe. Like I thought I was the one suffering in this dynamic, and like, what did my
That would
mom
hit
do to
hard.
deserve that? Because all she's ever done is take care of me. So it's like, well, that's shitty, and I'm really struggling to process that because it's like, even before she took care of me, she took care of my her her best friend had ALS when I was a
Wow.
teenager, actually. So she took care of her, and then even before I was born, she took care of my dad's grandparents. So it's like, what kind of thanks is
She's
that?
always been caregiving.
Yes, so
That's so
like
sad.
you spend your whole life taking care of disabled people, and then at the end of your life you become disabled. Like, what kind of thanks is that? So like disability is nuanced and it can be really
Mhm.
shitty. So
And that's such a good example, though, of how, even caregivers aren't exempt from it. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people don't think about that.
yeah. So my mom's been caregiving for other people for like 45 years, and now she
Wow.
and now she has a terminal illness that she also had to watch her best friend die of, and it's like, you
That's
know,
so sad. Your poor mom.
I,
I really feel for both of you.
I know life is just so random and thankless, but it
Yeah.
just goes to show that while you have happy days, you have to celebrate them.
Yeah, you have to enjoy it while you can. I've definitely been in that mode because my grandma passed in May and I
Sorry.
think she had like a lot of regrets like towards the end of her life or like things that she wished she had done and didn't. And she was 88, so she lived a great long life. So that's good. But she really like her experience taught me to be like, okay, like yes, I'm going to also think about the future, but I'm not guaranteed to like wake up tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to enjoy every day as much as I can and do what I want to while I can and like not feel bad about like spending money on like a meal out or things like that.
Yeah, or for example, I wore like a super fancy dress for you, and when my caregiver went to put it on me, I was like, why am I wearing this? This dress is for like a wedding. Why would I wear it for a podcast? And she was like, I don't know, because it looks nice. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
you're right. So,
Just enjoy, like, you have to enjoy the things we have and not hold them for a different day.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like people don't understand that this disability community is so fluid and that anyone could go in and out of it at any time. So,
Yes. So it all it takes is one moment for something to happen, which
yeah.
I think it scares a lot of people. Like when that gets brought up, that scares people. And I'm always like, well, if that's scary to you, which is a natural response to have, like obviously we're going to be scared of disability. That's normal to be scared of. But it'd be less scary if like things are more accessible, like if it were easier to get around, if healthcare were easier to access, if people had better caregiving situations, it would be a lot less scary.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, that was a really big fear that I faced because, except for when I was in college, my mom has taken care of me my whole life. And obviously, eventually, I knew she would age, and I was
Mhm.
like preparing for her aging out anyway, because she is 69, but the onset of the ALS was so much faster than like natural aging would be. So that
Mhm.
then I was in this scenario where like she couldn't take care of me, and I didn't have any caregivers, and I was like, what do I do? Because I feel like those
You're
resources
stuck.
like aren't really available. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, and this is another thing that gets brought up a lot too in our community is like people will say, well, just hire a caregiver. It's like, it's really not that simple.
There are so many bad people out there. I just have to say, like, I've had so many wild, dangerous, like, weird
With
experiences with
caregivers.
caregivers. Yeah.
I'm not surprised, unfortunately. I mean, I have been lucky enough to always have someone from my family be around, or when I was at
Yeah.
college, have friends. And I had considered having someone like in college for at least like the mornings and the evenings, but I've always tried my hardest to avoid it if I can because I know that it can be scary. Like there's scary situations that can happen.
Yeah, I've gotten, I won't tell you all my horror stories, but yeah, a lot of, like, I'm, I'm safe now and I was safe then, but yeah, it was like a lot of weird and creepy things happened to me in college, so I was also like, I know my mom can't do it anymore, but I really don't want to, like, invite this weirdness back into my life because it's a variable that you
No,
can't
understandable.
control.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
and I mean, not only that, but like also just considering the fact that they cost money and you have to
Yeah.
like hope that they show up on time or if they like show up at all. Because I know a lot of the time, like caregivers just don't show up.
Oh yeah, and you get stuck in bed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that used to happen to me all the time in college. It was so
that's
bad.
horrible. And then you're probably missing class. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many issues with it. Like, meanwhile, people think it's as simple as just like hiring a caregiver.
Yeah, like I don't know what people think caregivers do, but obviously the situation varies from person to person and what their
Yes.
situation is. I don't know if people think of it like nannying, where all you have to do is like not saying that nannying is easy either, but I think people view it as more like babysitting, but like when you're dealing with an adult who has like job and obligations and whatever, it's like it's different because you're managing
Yes.
multiple schedules.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's so many complicating factors there, and I feel like these are the types of conversations that are important to have, like discussing, my caregiver didn't show up to today. This is how that impacted me, or this is the type of help that I rely on other people for every day, and this is why. And a lot of people, I think, just aren't ready to hear those conversations. Like I just noticed whenever I share on my social media about like relying on people for help, things like that, the reception from disabled people is often like, thank you so much for saying this. I'm so glad someone's finally talking about this. From non-disabled people, it's the complete opposite. It's a very negative reaction.
Because non-disabled people are taught to ignore disabled people because you don't want your life becoming like disabled people because you can't imagine what life would be like to be disabled
Mhm.
because our society is engineered around habitually excluding disabled people.
Hmm.
So you don't want to interact with something you don't want to become.
They don't want to think about it. They totally want that off the table for them.
Yeah, and also again with the caregiver separation, like people assume that caregivers are like a different group of people, but like in my experience, now my mom and my caregiver is not only also disabled, but will become more severely disabled than me. So it's
Yeah.
like that's also a really weird phenomenon to wrap your head around.
Yeah, to think about that. Like also thinking about how someone goes from not having that at all to their health declining so quickly. Like it's a really good example of disability impacting us all, or like never knowing how disability is going to impact us. But it was really funny to me when you said something about like how you were like, "Oh, I'm the only disabled person in the family," or like, "Oh, it'll just be me." Because I've literally had thoughts like that before where like I I'm not paranoid about things, but I guess I'm very cautious about like, my health and like keeping track of things, and I'm like, because like I know that things can happen. So I can be like that on the one hand, but on the other hand, my mind will literally tell me like, "Oh, well, you already have a disability, so like nothing else is gonna happen. Like you're fine. Like you've had your thing, so don't worry."
I know. I was talking to someone a couple months ago in the community as well, and she anecdotally mentioned like, "Oh, I knew this woman who had cerebral palsy, which is what I have, but then something random happened where she like fell off a cliff or something, and then got a spinal cord injury in addition to the
Oh
cerebral
my
palsy." And I
gosh.
was like, "Literally, why would you tell me that? Like, because it
What
is
are the odds?
like it is true that in your head, once something happens to you, you're like, okay, like that'll be the worst thing to ever happen to me. And then when something else happens, you're like, wait, I was already at the quota.
Yes, it really feels like that. Like my brain, like actually tells me that that's how it works too. Like I will read a news article about something, like someone getting in a car crash or something, and I'm like, oh, well, that'll never happen to me because I already have my thing. And then I'm like, no, that's incorrect.
No, thank you for validating my delusion because I thought about that every day and I was like, well, like I already like the worst thing that could ever happen to me at birth, and then my mom got diagnosed with ALS and I was like, wait, what's happening? I already had my tragedy.
Yeah,
Like,
more things can
hello?
happen. I think it's our brain trying to protect ourselves, like comforting us maybe, being like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. Like it's like a trauma response type of thing.
Yeah, but unfortunately the universe continues to have shenanigans.
Yes.
So
You
you're
never
never
know what
free.
life is gonna throw at you.
I know. Yeah, yeah, and I just feel like it goes back to disability representation in media too, where disability is presented as like this life-altering tragedy, but then it's like, okay, but what do you do the next day? Like, what
Mhm.
about all the days after that, you know?
You have to live your life. I mean, that's why when people make comments about like, I could never live like this, or if I were like that, I would rather just pass away. It's like, that's not true. Like, they might think that, they're being dramatic. They might think that, but that is not true. Like, it's not.
I I posted a little video on YouTube interviewing my friend and just like joking around being disabled, and one of someone random that like she didn't know who followed her commented, "If I wish there were ways to humanely end suffering. If this were me, I would just die on the spot." And she like screenshotted it and sent it to me like surrounded by flowers, like she just doodled on it, and I was like, People are so weird. Like, why would you say that?
The stuff people say. It's also like I always react to that where I'm kind of like, that's kind of an embarrassing thing to admit. Like you're just saying you have like no coping skills at all. Like you have no resiliency. Like where's your resiliency? Like, but I know that the thing is like they're just saying it. It's not true. If something happened to them, they would end up finding ways to live their life.
Yeah, everyone adapts to basically as much as you can.
It's a natural thing humans do. I actually made a video on this the other day where I said like humans' ability to adapt is actually amazing. Like we have such a natural ability to adapt, and people don't really think about that or like give humans credit for that. Like it was on a video I posted of me showing how I put on my deodorant because since I can't move one hand, I get that question a lot. And I talked about like the design of the deodorant bottle and like what worked and what didn't. And someone was like, people with disabilities are honestly so amazing. Like they don't get enough credit for how they figure out how to do things. And I replied to that comment and I was like, no hate to this person. They didn't do anything wrong. But what people don't realize is like we adapt. Like, and it's just funny. It's on a video of me putting on deodorant too. Like, it was such a
Like,
mundane task.
it's just like I'm trying not to stink. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like I'm climbing Everest. Hello?
There were actually a lot of comments on that video, and they were funny. But they were like, people at my school have no excuse and stuff like that. Which, like, it's sort of like saying, like, I don't know. I guess it sort of goes down the path of like, oh, this disabled person has it so tough. But it was a funny joke.
Yeah, I like it if people are gonna say obtuse things. I like it if they at least say it in the context of making fun of themselves.
Yeah, like a silly, like, it's pretty harmless in that
Yeah.
regard. So, but yeah, it's
I
fun.
I noticed also on a lot of your videos you say no advice. Did you want to talk about that some?
I would love to. Yeah, so as I've gotten older, I think I've realized that when I first started social media, so I was 18, um, I maybe shared more than I would be comfortable sharing now. And I think that's because I didn't have as big of an audience and I was younger and just like didn't really care. So now I approach my content differently where I approach it from a way of like I'm sharing what I want to share. I don't need to justify anything to anyone. And I know what works best for me as a disabled person who's been living with this disability for over 15 years. What I always say is I know my body access needs and preferences better than anybody else, especially strangers on the internet. And I've started adopting this because I would just get so many comments with unsolicited advice, and it would be the most ridiculous things ever. Like on the deodorant video, for example, even though that video had the no advice, please text on it, somebody commented and was like, I wonder if you'd be a good candidate for removal of the sweat glands. Just ridiculous things like that. And I know that I don't have to respond to any of them, but when it's filling up your entire comment section, it makes posting not really fun for me. And so I decided I would set that boundary, and it actually works. Like, what's funny is now if people comment advice, a lot of my followers will reply to that comment and be like, she requests no advice, and they'll like stick up for me. Um, so I've started doing that, and I think it's something a lot of people should consider having a boundary for, like both in person and online. Like we do not owe our medical information to anyone. We don't owe our diagnosis to anyone. We don't owe them any information like that. We don't have to justify things to anyone.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder because I feel people with disabilities, there's often that pressure to be like, well, everyone says, like, oh, I've never interacted with, like, a disabled person before. Not true. Or
Not true.
a person with a wheelchair before, whatever. So they feel like I have to be the monolith and the representative for all wheelchair users or all people with paralysis or whatever it may be.
Hmm. Yeah, when they say they've never interacted with a disabled person, it's so not true. Like people don't realize how many people have disabilities for one thing. Um,
No.
but yeah, I like to do it to set that expectation like for my followers and to model boundary setting for my followers. And I've had a lot of my followers say that it's helped them like realize they don't have to justify like their choices or like how they do things to anybody, which has been my goal. Um, and another thing a lot of people don't realize is a lot of questions can come across as advice, like asking, like one I got the other week, have you ever considered doing physical therapy? Like it's a question, but to me it still comes across as advice because if they were assuming that I had done that, they wouldn't be asking if I'd considered doing it. So it's like this indirect suggestion. So that's what a lot of people don't understand too, is that a lot of questions like that basically are implying ridiculous advice.
Yeah, like, I love how suddenly everyone on the internet becomes an expert in whatever you're posting about. So suddenly everyone's like a physical therapist or an occupational therapist
Yes.
or like a sweat gland removal specialist.
Yeah, everyone thinks they know something. And when like my condition I have is incredibly complex, like I barely understand what I understand about it. Like I'm able to explain it, but it's very complicated. Like a lot of people on my social media, they don't even know the difference between the spine and the spinal cord, things like that. And like so if you can't explain like these basic things related to my condition, then you should not be giving me any advice at all.
Yes, please and thank you. Please.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I like having that boundary set. It makes a lot of people mad, I will say. I do get some crap for that occasionally in my comment sections, but for the most part, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. A lot of people say it's really helpful.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good example, especially for younger people, that just because you're sharing aspects of your life on social media, it doesn't mean that everybody has permission to take a microscope to your life based on their own
Yes.
personal preferences and biases.
Yes. And like, especially given how unique my disability presentation is, like, it's really not very common to see someone like me who can walk. Like, I can walk, but I can't move certain parts of my arms. Like, that is so unusual. So, like, nobody really knows any good suggestions for me. I promise.
Yeah, because like, even within your condition and people, like, even our founder Tiffany was saying, like, when I first started Diversability, I didn't understand like how diverse cerebral palsy can be, because cerebral palsy can be anything.
Hmm.
I have friends who it's barely visible, they only have a slight limp. I have other friends who can't talk. I have other friends who have feeding tubes, and we all have cerebral
So
palsy.
different. Yeah.
So it just goes to show that even like within the disability, there are so many different manifestations.
Yes, yeah, within one specific condition, like you said, even. And a lot
Yeah,
of people don't know that because again, back to like representation of things, like it's often portrayed in one specific way for each condition.
oh, it's also like, oh, now you're disabled, all you can do is pray for death, and it's like, well, but what if I want to live?
Yeah. And but meanwhile, a lot of these people don't bother doing anything to make it easier for us to live our lives either.
Yeah, and then you get people in power like Governor Abbott, where they have their own wealth and privilege, and they just don't care about anyone else in the community, which is irritating, to say
Mhm.
the least.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's some simple things that everyday people could do to make our lives easier. Like, I get that question a lot, like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, it's simple things like if you're out and about and you see like an accessible door button that's broken at a business, like maybe telling like the business owner if you can, if you know a way to report it. Or like just like, spotting inaccessibility and reporting it if you can when you see it. Like, or even just, I tell people just thinking about disability if you can, because once you start like approaching the world from this place of inaccessibility and accessibility. You can't unsee things. Like everywhere you go, you see it. So I always tell people just try to start thinking about it and you won't be able to stop. And then it can kind of help you notice things and then maybe make a difference. Like, for example, if you're um, working a job where something important comes up in a meeting, like you can raise a concern about like an event you're putting on and say, hey, we should have this event like at a wheelchair accessible venue or, things like that. Like there's these things that everyday people can do, and I think they don't realize how impactful that is.
Yeah, and I think reinforcing that everyday advocacy is so important because so often people conceive of activism as like a life devotion
Yeah.
where you have to like give every single waking hour to the cause. And in real life that's not usually how activism plays out.
That's such a good point. Like a lot of people basically, I guess they see it as like you have to become like the Judy human or else anything you do is useless. And that's so not true.
Yeah, and it's like you don't have to make some you can care about other people and multiple other groups without like devoting your life to it or making it your whole identity.
Yes.
Like it's sweet if you're motivated to devote your whole life purpose to disabled people and like we need all the help we can get, but you can also just like hold open doors for people.
Yes.
Like
Yes, literally just like navigating the world with empathy. I was just going to say that like doing things the right way when that opportunity arises, like opening doors for people if it makes sense, holding a door for somebody if it makes sense, helping somebody pick something up off the ground if that seems appropriate, like offering somebody help if it seems appropriate, and respecting their answer that you get back. Like all those things make such a difference.
yeah, exactly. And I feel as though once people come to the realization that they can help disabled people in their lives while they're young about their own lives, then inclusion and advocacy seems like much less of a daunting task to incorporate.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like you're becoming some big advocate or activist. It can just be listening and like navigating the world with an empathetic mindset, like I said. So,
Yeah, exactly. And how do you see, on the subject of activism, how do you see your own content and your own advocacy expanding from here?
oh, I love that question. Well, I feel like I'm in a good spot right now because I graduated college last year, so I've been out of college for like a year and a half, so I've had way more time to focus on these things because like while I was in college, a lot of what I wanted to post about had to do with being a disabled college student, and that was really fun and really impactful. And I still talk about those things, but I've been focusing a lot on YouTube recently. So I've been trying to post like longer videos because a lot of people they've been asking me to post about certain topics or I get requests for things. So I've been trying to do a lot of YouTube. So I mainly do my YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm going to keep up with those things. I am really trying to build out my speaking and consulting. So, I do consulting for like individuals and businesses. I've done both. And then speaking engagements for like companies, schools, college clubs. I'm still continuing to do that and really just dedicating my time to that. I do have a project I'm working on. I don't want to say what it is yet because it's very much still in the works, but I am trying to build out my own little project that people eventually know about. Hopefully not too long from now, maybe in a few months. So I have some personal goals, and that's exciting because it gives me something to work towards, something to fill my time. And I am actually writing my fourth book. I've been working on it for so long. I keep like writing it and kind of leaving and coming back to it and changing things because I become like too much of a perfectionist with it. But I am working on that. So hopefully maybe in the next couple years that would come out too.
Ooh, look at you. You've got a lot of things you're juggling.
It's a lot. It's really nice though. Like I love that I can kind of like build my own schedule and I'm very thankful for that. That's so nice to have that freedom because I really value like being able to spend time with people and like see friends, things like that. So I like that I can prioritize what's important to me. And actually, I forgot I am trying to do my very first virtual training session on self-advocacy. It's something I've been thinking about doing for like a year now and didn't really know how to go about it. But I'm gonna try to hopefully offer that within the next month or two because I have a little like community chat on my Instagram with some of my followers. And I did a poll and asked if people would be interested, and I got like 40 people who said yes. So I'm like, okay, that's a good response. So I'm gonna maybe start doing some virtual training sessions, like start with this one, maybe do like, I don't know, for a year or something like that. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that's a good move. And
Mhm.
also, I can help you promote those within the DLC and
I would love
diversibility as
that.
well. We can advocate for you definitely, or like post it on Instagram or something.
Yes, that would be amazing. I'll send you the details when it's
Yes,
finalized.
yeah, because I feel like people need to realize that advocacy does start with yourself, and it does
Mhm.
start with raising your own voice.
Yes, and people ask me all the time questions like this is what inspired me to do this is people ask me questions all the time like how are you so confident asking for help or like how did you get comfortable asking for help? How do you not feel guilty asking for help? So I want to address all those things and give people just some insight into maybe why we feel the feelings we do around asking for help, like where that comes from and like how we can deconstruct it and provide people with some pointers for how to develop like scripts they can use to effectively self-advocate. So that's the plan.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like guilt especially is an issue. Like even if you're paying someone as your caregiver, I know from my experience, I still feel a lot of guilt of being like, oh, I shouldn't be asking for this or asking for this is
Mhm.
annoying, and then I'm like, but I'm paying them to give me a service, so why do I
You're
feel
literally
bad?
paying
You
them.
know?
I
Yeah,
actually posted a video on this like yesterday, maybe, um, on TikTok where I made this comparison of like, you're at the hair salon, you're literally paying this person a lot of money to do your hair, and you may not like it, but like it's awkward to say something and you've literally paid them for a service. Or like if you're at a restaurant and you've paid for your food and they bring you like the wrong side or something, but like you don't really want to say something because it's awkward or like embarrassing or you don't want to make them feel bad. And then I was like, imagine like being disabled and you have to deal with this every day. Like you maybe don't like the way your caregiver or friend or family member did your hair, but you don't really want to say something because they're helping you. And then I was like, even if you pay a caregiver, it doesn't take away this guilt because, like I said, paid services for paid restaurant, paid hairstylist, there's still that guilt of like not winning correct people.
yeah, and it's like, what if you felt that every single waking day of your entire life?
Yes. Every day with multiple tasks a day or every task a day even,
Yeah.
and it never gets to be the way you want it to be. Like that's so annoying to think about.
Yeah, but that's the disabled lived experience. But then people say, oh, you're being negative.
Yeah, or you're being too picky, or just be grateful for what you have. Be grateful that you have help, which, like, yes, you can be grateful that you have somebody helping you and also recognize that it's maybe not exactly how you would want it. And that's valid.
Yeah, like it's like at least you're getting to live, but you're not getting to live the way you want. So that's still kind of a downer.
Yes. Like, maybe I would enjoy like being able to braid my own hair, but I know it's something I'll never be able to do. Like my mom did this beautiful, amazing braid for me today, but it'd be cool like if I could braid my own hair. And I just know that's something I'll never do.
Yeah, and you just have to make peace with it and find other sources of f fulfillment in your life because those are the kind of
Mhm.
psychological adaptations that we make every day.
Yeah, you just have to be like, well, like this is where I try to reframe and I'm like, well, I think it's really like sweet that my mom and I have gotten like close through her helping me with things. Like I think we have a closer mom-daughter relationship because of that. So that's where I reframe. But I do still let myself be annoyed that like I can't do certain things.
Yeah, because I feel like part of being disabled too is just sort of perpetually mourning the lack of agency. Even
Mhm.
at the same time, you can be grateful for and acknowledge all the unexpected richness that it's brought into your life.
Yes. This is what I think we're kind of going full circle here, like to how we started, like where people aren't great at letting us talk about the full picture, like where it can all be true at the same time, but there's not much space for that nuance.
Yeah, exactly. More people need to recognize that nothing in life has to be mutually exclusive.
Yes.
That everything exists in its complexity and depth.
Yes. And humans are complex people. We're complex beings. So our emotions are going to be complex.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I know we're coming up to an hour, but did you have anything else that you wanted to add, or any sort of advice or wisdom that you wanted to share with our audience?
I think I would just say, like, if you're a disabled individual and you're, you know, someone who struggles with like self-advocating, like, since that's something I've been thinking about recently, talking about a lot recently, and maybe that's because you feel like bad asking for help, or you feel like you're not disabled enough for help, or you don't want to anger people, like, remember that like you are entitled to access, you're entitled to the resources and accessibility because those are things you deserve. And I always just want to try to encourage people to be empowered to, ask for what they need. And I know it's difficult, but I like to just remind people of that like they deserve it. So don't feel like you don't.
Yeah, everyone is entitled to dignity and access.
Yes, love it.
That's a spectacular note to end on.
Yes.
Well, Sarah Todd, thank you so much for talking with us today,
I
and
loved it.
and we really appreciate your time. Hold on, let me turn off the recording.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime, come back anytime that you would like. Hold on,
I literally loved this. It was such a good conversation.
let me pause the recording. Here, Frankie, can you help me? Pause it. Caregiver moment. I can't reach
Yes.
the pause button, so she's helping me.
Such a great example of what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
see, that's an even better way to end the podcast. Can you
Yes.
hit the off button? I think it's stop recording is down there.